Hello, welcome to the Elevate Your Wellbeing podcast with myself, Rachael Wagstar. Thank you very much for being here. Do make sure that you have some water, you have a journal, and we are going to dive into this week's episode. So, the topic I would love to dive into is mind, body, social. So, how can I do this? So, it's not mind, body, soul, but mind, body, and social. So I want to go into how connecting with people around us, the environment that you're in, can really impact your well-being. So we have a first quarter moon in the sign of Sagittarius coming up. Sagittarius can be very philosophical, but they also love to travel. So it's, we're learning, we're moving, we're growing, and they love to experience different cultures. That's a very big aspect of Sagittarius. And I thought this would be a really interesting topic to dive into for this week's podcast. And I am also doing my monthly masterclass. I've been doing this for a few months now, and I really, really love doing these masterclasses. They're 90 minutes, an hour and a half. You can join me live, or you can, if you purchase before the live, you'll get the replay within 24 hours and you get the same bonuses as if you had joined in live. Otherwise, the recording goes out afterwards. So if you sign up, if you register after the go live, you won't get the recording until after the bonuses time out. So just have a little think about that, because it is worth signing up, even if you can't attend live. And this one is on the 24th of August. So it's next week on Thursday. And I really wanted to dive in and do a podcast episode around this topic because I've called it Reconnect. For me, it's really channeled through that sort of that coming back to reviewing and looking at where we're at in our lives and on these different topics. So I've gone through like rebalancing. So it's reviewing and reflecting on balance in our life and focusing and looking at how we can recharge ourselves, like re-energize. I could have called that one as well. And then the one I've got coming up is reconnect. So looking at how we can reconnect with ourselves and those around us. And I really wanted to dive into how your environment, how your social group, how you connect with and understand yourself can really impact your well-being. So I will put in the show notes the sign up link for this masterclass. And like I said, it's on the 24th of August. It's 7 p.m. UK time. We're currently in British summer time, so BST. If you can't attend live, still sign up. Like I said, you'll get the bonuses as well if you sign up before it goes live. So you'll get all the details to attend live, but you'll get the recording within 24 hours. So you can still get the bonuses as if you had joined live. So that's always worth thinking about when you attend, or if you're interested in the topic that I'm going into. And I really hope that you are interested in this one. I kind of sat on this one for a little bit because it's one that came through as an idea, but I think it's really, really important to be mindful of who we're connecting with, who we're socializing with. And sometimes it can feel tricky because we're like, well, maybe as we grow up, as we get older, as we turn into adults, I see a lot of people say that it can feel really challenging to make new connections, or it can feel more challenging to have these deeper connections. We tend to get a little bit more isolated. So if that is how you're feeling, I'm going to touch on that a little bit in this week's episode. Obviously, I like to try and keep these episodes short, or as short as they can. I know sometimes I really go off on a tangent, but I will be going into this in more detail in that upcoming masterclass. So if you're intrigued, I really, really do encourage you to think about attending that or signing up to receive the recording. So your well-being is how you interact with the world. How are you interacting with the world? And the quote that really comes to mind with this one is, your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. So those around you can really elevate you. They can really help lift you up, or they can kind of drag you down. They can pull you down. And I know there's a quote, I can never remember who says it, but there's those true strengths in how you can impact those around you. And you can push people down, or you can pull people up. We want to help lift people up. We want to pull them up. We want to help elevate them alongside us. And a lot of people, you may have heard this say, sort of collaborate over competition, like calibration over competition. And that can feel really hard when you're working alongside people in the same field. But it is really important to work alongside other people, because it really, really lifts you up. And I really wanted to dive into this because this is actually going to be a module that's on a signature coaching wellbeing program that I'm releasing in September. So I know I'm saying, like, I've got this masterclass that's coming out. And the masterclasses are a really good way of getting that coaching if you're not quite ready for this full-on program. That will be 3 months, 90 days. There will be a few different options, and I will be going into that on another podcast episode very, very soon. I don't think it'll be next week, so it'll probably be the week after, to sort of introduce it. You're getting a little sneak peek now, because I'm just going to have a quick look ahead. So yeah, I think this one will go out on the 1st of September, that I'm going to go into the coaching program that I'm releasing, which I'm really excited about. But your well-being is how you interact with the world. So if you think about how you're impacting, how you're connecting with other people, it's that quote of wanting to change the world. Like yesterday I was again, I know I'm going to butcher this one, so apologies, do stay with me. This is what it's like when you have a coffee with me, so I'm going to keep it real. But it's basically, yeah, yesterday I was clever, or yesterday I was smart and I wanted to change the world. Today I am like, it's the same sort of thing, but it's actually, today I'm going to change myself. It's how you can take that really small step that doesn't feel like a lot. It's like, it's only me doing this. But it's amazing how what you do ripples out to those closest to you, and that ripples out to the people closest to them, and ripples out to people closest to them. So sometimes what we do on a micro scale really has a macro impact. So it can be huge. And just to highlight what we go through in this particular module around that connection and relationships, it's, when you're aware of how you can boost your health and your happiness by being aware of that social aspect to your well-being. We're social creatures, especially in the last few years. You've probably noticed that difference of when we have had to be isolated, and the impact it's had on a lot of mental well-being. And we're made to hug. We are people that need to touch. Whether it's holding hands, or that sort of loving hug as you see people, when you greet people or you say goodbye, all these things, or high-fiving. There's this huge impact in your well-being when you have that connection. And looking at the people around you, have you got that supportive community, that strength of community, those supportive relationships that can lift you up? And it'll be going into like how you can build those sorts of friendships, how you can work with communicating with people, so you can work with friends and in partnerships, relationships, and even things as simple as looking at the 5 love languages, which is a really beautiful book to look into. If you've never read that, I really highly recommend it. But it can feel really hard for some people to make those new connections. So it's looking into how and where you can find those connections, because those around you really do have that impact. Now, you may be aware of the quote of, you are the sum of the 5 people around you. So if the 5 people closest to you are fit and healthy, you'll be the 6th person who will be fit and healthy. If the 5 people that you mostly hang around with are overweight, they complain, they smoke, you'll be the 6th person. But I saw a slight shift on this quote, which I fell in love with, which is, those 5 people around you help to regulate your nervous system. Those around you regulate your nervous system. So if you've ever been to a meditation or a yoga class, whether that's in person or online, and you've suddenly moved into feeling relaxed, you are aware of the stress leaving your body, you're yawning, those around you, you're connecting, your nervous system is connecting to them, and they know, and your nervous system knows that these people around you, their nervous system is also in relax. So you're going from sympathetic to parasympathetic. You're going from fight or flight or freeze into rest and digest. And you want to be around those people that help you feel relaxed as much as possible. And this is the key impact on your well-being. Those that are around you have that massive impact on your well-being. And the reason I wanted to really highlight the mind, body, soul or social aspect of it is we have a system which looks at the psychological, the biological, and the social aspect of who you are. So that mind is your psychology, the thoughts that you think, your biology, obviously what physically makes you up, your genetics. But that only, there are lots of different quotes I've seen with regards to statistics. Your biology either impacts you between 10 and 30%. So your genetics only impact you by 10 to 30%. So this is the range that I've seen. For your genetics could impact you as little as 10%, up to 30%. But it's that social aspect, the environment that you are in, the people that you are around that impact you 70 to 90%, which is huge. 70 to 90%. And I think your mind has that kind of in-between factor, because your biology will impact you on that as well, because your genetics will have that impact on your psychology. But so are the people around you because of what you're hearing. So there's this split with your mind. And we talked about this a little bit on last week's episode. So if you haven't listened to that, or you haven't gone into that properly, like completely, like deeply, you haven't gone into the journal prompt I gave you for that one, do go back and reflect on that, because that story that you're telling yourself, they could come from you if you've been stuck in your comfort zone, but they could come from people around you. If you're constantly hearing things that you're from the people that you're surrounding yourself, you will start to believe them to be true. So if we're around people that are elevating you, and you'll hear them telling you this over and over and over again, that will become a strong, loud, empowering voice. Yet if you're around people that are constantly complaining, then you will end up taking on board that way of being. And that's how the environment you're in, the people that you're around, really impact your mindset. And that can then impact your physical stuff, that biology, your body. So if you're around people that smoke, and you're like, this is the norm, and I feel like I'm not normal, so you end up doing it. It's that peer pressure of those that are around you. And I thought that was also an interesting aspect to highlight with regard to that reconnection, those empowering relationships that can really help you elevate yourself, or are they hindering yourself? So it can be a challenging one to look into, because sometimes we don't choose, we don't necessarily choose our family or the people that we work with, but we can put boundaries in place with how we want to interact with them, how we want to be perceived by them, how we want to, like how much time we want to spend with them. It can feel challenging to put those boundaries in place if you're around people and they have these certain expectations of you. But if you're fed up of going into work and all you're hearing is constant bitching, then you can kind of say, look, I don't want to talk about that today. If you need to get that off your chest, I understand that, but I'm not the person for you. And at the time, if that feels really challenging, I totally hear you. But it can be really empowering because you're then cutting that cord from that person. You could then look into like, who can I hang out with that can help empower me? You know, and if you're concerned about certain people that you're around that need that extra help, then be the person that shares those links. Go, look, I think from what you were saying the other day, this can be really empowering. Or you can be a friend and say, look, I hear you telling me this, like I hear you telling me you want to quit smoking, or I hear you telling me you want to eat healthier. Yeah, I see you going out and having a cigarette break every, hour. I see you bringing in the snacks that aren't necessarily good for you, and you're eating them at your desk, which is opposite me. So you can kind of call people out, but in a way that you're hearing them. I hear you saying this, but I see you doing this. And it's just a way of putting that boundary in of, look, you're constantly saying you want to change, but you're not doing it. You're breaking this promise to yourself. And this is something I want to highlight with you with love, because I can see that you're not getting there, you're struggling. And you can always point them in the direction of someone who you feel could help them. So it's how can you empower someone to make the change that you're hearing them want to change and take, but they're not taking that step to do it. So how can you have that shift in your environment? You can become that support, or you can become that sort of that torch, that floodlight of actually highlighting what that person is going through, and help them realize that actually, yeah, I'm saying I want to change, but I don't want to change. And that in turn can help you. And it's being really aware again of the fine line with that, because it's not telling people to change. If you're wanting to be that person who is different, if you're like, I don't want to be the smoker, or I don't want to be the person that doesn't feel good in my body, then it's just being a role model for people. So it's showing up as the person you want to be. And that's where I come back to that ripple effect. You think, well, it's only me, what am I doing? But it can have that ripple effect on those around you. So rather than be like, oh, you should be doing this, or that's really bad for you. If they are telling you they want to quit, but they're not quitting, for example, to stay on the same analogy of smoking, just highlight, I hear you saying you want to do that, but then I see you doing this. Um, is that something worth looking into, or is it something you really want to do? Just because if you're hearing them constantly say, oh, I can't quit, I'm having trouble quitting, it's amazing how that can rub off on you. So know that by you taking small changes, that can really help ripple out into the environment that you're in. And sometimes it means people do fall away because they realize they're not there yet. And that can feel sad as well. I've lost connections and friendships because we've evolved in different ways. And yes, it is sad, but I can look at the times we have enjoyed together and then know that I'm making space for people to come into my life where I'm at now. And it's just honoring those little chapters in our life. Sometimes they are little. Some people are with us for a whole book. Some people are with us for a trilogy. It is part of that growth mindset again, like we were talking about last week. So this kind of ripples on from that aspect, which is why I wanted to put this one up this week. So I hope I've not rambled too much in this one. It is something I do feel really passionate about, and I do really want to go into a lot, which is why this particular focus has its own masterclass, which is going to be going live on the 24th of August, and you can purchase the recording after that. But it will have its whole own module in this program that I'm releasing in September, which I'm really, really, really excited about. I'll be saying a bit more about it not next week. Next week, I'm going to go into coffee because I've been wanting to talk about this for ages. But I will do it on episode 41. So you can get a little bit more information, and it will be launching in September as well. So I feel this topic has we could really dive deep into this particular topic, and it's like, who are you around? That's why I wanted to highlight the whole Sagittarius aspect is how can we learn and grow from those around us? How can we experience different cultures? How can we take what works and leave what doesn't? And that can be the same with people around us. Who can we continue this journey with? Who's helping elevate us? Who do we need to release and let go? Or who do we need in little tiny chunks? So we're not having this big old like draining session, if we end up around like energy vampires, for example. So if you have got questions on this, do get in touch. I can go into what we would be going into the program a little bit more, or you could ask questions about the masterclass or join the masterclass. It's only £22 or whatever that is in your currency, because you can sign up from anywhere. And if you join live, you get the chance to answer questions. If you sign up before it goes live and you can't attend, you can always send in questions and I can answer them on the live. You can still send me questions if you watch the recording. But obviously, I don't necessarily prioritize those around everything else that I've got coming in. So do keep that in mind. Obviously, if you're listening to this and then after that, still get in touch and have a look into what you could gain from either signing up for the masterclass or when the program is out, if you want to sign up to that. But again, more information will be coming out in 2 weeks' time on that. So the prompt I want to leave you with is, how is the environment you're currently in helping to elevate you? How is the environment you're currently in helping to elevate you? And it's just an observation. Just notice who's around you. How are they helping you? What effect do they have? What impact do they have on you? And is that helping you to grow, or is it keeping you stuck? And I will join you next week.